Hey gang, thought it was be a good time, just kind of getting some woods time today to tell the story of the Toyota 4Runner, the 1992 second gen 4Runner, and how I came to get it and all that kind of stuff. So had many four-wheel drives. So I think I got my first one around 1991, around that time. But time went on, found myself in different places, different situations, and got my own full-size Bronco. It was a 1989, I believe. And so I drove that stock for a while and saw its limitations, and it wasn't fully doing what I wanted it to do. So I kind of went hog wild, got a little crazy, and tore out the twin traction beam front suspension and built a custom front suspension for it and swapped in a solid axle on the front, put in lockers and all kinds of things, and made this thing, I think it ran on 35-inch tires, and made this thing like coil springs and everything, made this thing a flexy beast. This thing could climb over anything, and I'd flex it up on rocks and I could literally walk under it. It was kind of unstoppable, and it was amazing. But after I did that and owned it for a little while, drove it around for a little while, that ran into a few problems. One, as a daily driver, because the kids were still home at the time, it wasn't the best. And fuel economy was horrible on that thing to begin with. You know, the full-size American trucks from back then and Land Cruisers and stuff, they're terrible. And the Bronco was way worse than a Land Cruiser. And once I did all the modifications, it got even worse. And then also, out here in the American West, in the trails, in the mountains and things like that, they can get really narrow. They can get hemmed in from the top with trees and manzanita, very tough vegetation. That'll just, yeah, it's not soft and gentle, you know, moist environment stuff. This is tough vegetation. So this thing wouldn't even fit half the places I wanted it to go, you know. It did very well rock crawling and keeping up with the four-wheel drive club. It was unstoppable. Never get stuck. Didn't even have a winch on it. Didn't have rock sliders. Didn't need it. Yeah, it just, for overlanding, getting into the backcountry and stuff, it was just unwieldy and expensive to run. So ended up getting rid of that and just kind of, you know, didn't quite know what I wanted to replace it. Jeeps are cool, Jeeps are awesome, but you know, at the time anyway, they just didn't have the room inside that I wanted to be able to, you know, fit the gear and maybe make a bed back there, things like this. You know, so this was getting to the early 2000s now. You know, all the cool stuff like rooftop tents and all that stuff wasn't even on the radar here in America, at least. And so we didn't have the kit back then, so we had to make our own stuff. And I'm not building a rooftop tent. I didn't even know what one was or anything like that. So anyway, I ended up getting, for daily commuting and road trips and stuff, got a Crown Victoria Police Interceptor, and I was going back to college at the time. It was, just got that for traveling to school and back, because it's just fantastic on the highways, and you know, cheap to fix, durable, rugged, long lasting. I still have it, still running after all these years. I probably had it, paid $2,000 for it. I've had it maybe 15, 17 years. And then shortly after I got that, I was still just going to auctions and things, and that's where I got the Crown Vic. Went to one auction, and most of the cars there were just crap. I mean, these were just the dealer trade-in throwaways. They were junk. But in that pile, there was 2 or 3 that looked relatively worth it, and one of them was a 1992 4Runner. Not mint by any means. It had kind of high miles. Had, you know, the front seats were kind of tore up and that kind of stuff, but SR5 had all the options and everything, pretty loaded. And so I checked it out. I walked up to the office, grabbed the keys, listened to the motor run. You know, you weren't allowed to drive them or anything. Ran really well. One guy sitting there with me thought it was a rebuild or something, so it was running so well. And but I could tell it had never been removed. the hood had never been taken off, and it was just too original, you know. And so checked everything out as best I could, and decided, you know, these are kind of cool. It was a 92. It was like just after I graduated high school was 92, so I graduated in 89. So it's kind of a throwback to the early days. Still manual transmission, manual transfer case, all that kind of stuff. It was the way I like four-wheel drives. And so I just threw some bids in, and I decided, all right, my limit's $2,000. And so I went up to $2,000. The competition dropped out and I won it. And I've had it ever since. And so I've had it 13 to 15 years now. And so at first that became the family exploration vehicle. The kids were still younger and at home camping and that kind of stuff. Left it stock. And, you know, so took it home. And it was really low on power was one thing I noticed, and pulled the air filter off, and it was filthy. I could have probably put it in a tree and a bird would have nested in it. And yeah, so did all the tune-up, changed all the fluids, changed, you know, fixed everything up, and it just, you know, did basic maintenance on it. And aside from a few things here and there, that's all the, you know, aside from that kind of maintenance, that's all I've had to do to it. I had to change the radiator, the radiator fan bearing went out, so that bracket thing on the front, it's not on the water pump on these. I had to change that, and that's not terribly uncommon. So I think I'm getting some ants on me. So yeah, since then it's been super reliable and super great, and just tons of fun family adventures and things like that. And then one time I was out, and it was early spring, out with the kids, turned down a dirt road, went out in a field, four-wheeling, and this was an area I was taking them out looking for fossils, because this was an area where it's an old lake, or we used to be the bottom of the ocean millions of years ago. And it was spring, so the dirt on top was all dry, but underneath that dry layer was just mud from all the water from the winter. And so we broke through and sunk into that mud, and had to get a tow, and it was not cheap. And so at that point I decided, all right, I'm getting a winch. And haven't had to use it too much since. So got the winch bumper, the bumper you see in the photos, it's still the same one from Addicted Off-Road, and they still make them, and they have some other styles now that are way cool, so check them out. And it's been amazing. So it's just a little vote of confidence for that company and their products. Then found a used winch on, I think, Yoda Tech, and got some used Thule clamps and crossbars for the roof, so I could carry some gear up there, because with the kids and all of us in gear in the truck, we needed to put some things on the roof, and also carry kayaks up there and stuff like that. We're gonna move because I'm just getting covered in ants. They're getting mad at me. They're gonna stand up and walk around. Getting bit a little bit. Yeah, so that was the beginning of the mods, and then, all right, so I looked into further things and went ahead and did a manual hub conversion. You know, I put out a video on that already, and then that's kind of the way it stayed for a long while. And just basically use it for a backcountry travel thing, you know, get out in the woods, do some bushcrafting, camping, backcountry camping, that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, and then today led up to lots of good adventures, but led up to the rig you see in that video that I created not too long ago about the rig walk around. And there's been some questions on that, so I'm going to do a more detailed walk around one of these days and share that with you guys too. So yeah, that's the story. It's been mine for quite a long time, about half its life, and Like I said, got it with some rather high miles, but it was 200,000 something, and now I am at 330,000, something like that. So still getting ants off me. It's like they just found me and went, oh, look at this. Look at this guy sitting here. Yeah, so that's a brief story of the 4Runner. So check out I'll link it somewhere, or put a little one of them cards at the end or something of the rig walk around, and enjoy that. And it's going to be 30 years old coming up, and just get in there and, you know, dig out stuff that's been in there for, you know, anything rubber, maybe take the top part of the motor off, and sensors that have been in there forever. That pain in the butt PCV valve to get to, and just get in there and do, you know, stuff that's been in there, as far as I know, since day one. Probably could be replaced, you know. So but we'll document that as that progresses, but that'll be probably not till winter. I hope that was fun, and let me know. Yeah, I should probably do a video just talking about all my four-wheel drives that I've had since the first one, which was a K5 79 K5 Blazer. So anyway, all right, talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and if you like the outdoors and you like discovering who you are, living your fullest life, hit the subscribe button, hang out with me. So talk to y'all soon. All right, bye-bye.